What's up, guys? This is King Echo. Welcome back to another episode, the 25 Days of Cubing, Day 4, and today we're going to be looking at the 5x5 Rubik's Cube. So, again, as I mentioned before in the 4x4 video, all of the larger n by n higher order puzzles that are cubic, so like this one, they're all solved with a similar concept as the 4x4, so they're all solved a similar way, and that's to reduce the centers and edges, reduce all the inner pieces and these inner edge pieces right here so that they're all the same, so that they're all matching, so that it effectively functions the same as a 3x3, and then you solve it like a 3x3. So unlike the 4x4, I don't use any special method. I just use the standard reduction method to solve 5x5, which is just solve two opposite centers, then solve the four inner centers, and then edge pairing, and then again just solve it like a standard 3x3. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So first I see the white center. As you can see, first we have this white bar here and this one here, and I also note this bar back here. So first what I'll do is I'll move this out of the way. That way when I move this bar up to solve that, this isn't affected by it, so then I can solve that, and that gets me a little 2x3 here. And then next I just want to solve this last bar, so I see this piece and this piece, so what I'll do is I'll bring this up to match those two. Then next, as I did that move, I saw this piece here. What I can do is make sure that these are all aligned up so that when I bring this up, that will solve this bar. I see that that kicks this out, but what I can do is I can move this layer, and when I bring this bar back down, that doesn't affect this. And now I can bring that up to solve the first center. And then next we have the yellow center, again, because yellow is opposite of white. I forgot to mention, but unlike the 4x4 with even layer puzzles like this, you do have the centers. These they never move in relation to one another. Like I can do slice moves like this, but yellow will always be opposite of white. So again, that's something that I don't have to take into account to, like how I did for the 4x4. So anyway, getting back into this, I see this bar here and this bar here, and I can solve these by doing the U2 on the top layer, which allows me to bring this up. That'll match these, and again, because moving that up affects the white center, what I want to do is move that out of the way, so now when I resolve the white, this remains unaffected. And now I can just effectively repeat that process. So again, we have this here. Next we have this yellow bar here, so what we can do is rotate this like this so that it's lined up with this. This is lined up with this slot here, so it comes up vertical, I should say. Then I can, again, rotate the top layer so that when we do move this up, these get matched up. And then, again, that messes up the bottom center, but we can fix that by moving this out of the way and moving that back down. And then finally, we have the last bar. So we have this piece here, and this piece here. So this isn't too hard to solve. We can, again, first move this piece up to solve that. Then what we can do is actually do a double move on this face so that that brings this piece down here. Actually, I lied. We don't want to do that. We want to do one move over here. So now this is lined up with this, and we can move that up and solve it. And again, because we don't want to mess up this bottom layer, what we are going to do is we're going to put this bar on the same side that already has a bar. So what that does is when I move this up, it looks like I haven't affected this, but instead it has kicked out this bar. So we fix this by doing a 180 rotation on the top layer. So now that empty slot is on this side, the same side as this bar. So when we move back the white piece to solve the center, it also solves the top center. And that's the first two centers done. So now what we want to do is solve the inside layers. So I see that this orange already has two bars, and I see that there are two more here that I can easily solve. So what I'll do is first I'll line this one up so I can move that down. That gives me an orange 2x2 square, and now I see that because this piece is at the top and not the bottom, I need to change this first, like that. So now when I bring this down, we have our 2x3. And then So, all right, so the last, we have this piece here, right there, this piece here, and this piece here. So what I can do is I can move this up like that. I can bring this up to match these two, and now I want to get this piece in. What I can do is rotate that like this, move this to the bottom slot, and now I can match those up, and that solves the first center, or I guess the third center technically. And here I would actually rotate over, move the cube like this so that it's easier for me to solve the green center. So now what I want to do is I see I have, again, these are actually a lot of easy cases, but anyway, we kind of have like a similar thing. This moves here. Okay, but now we have that now that this center is solved, we kind of have to do like the similar ideology as when we had one center solved but not the other. So every time we do a move, we have to be conscious of that and do a setup move or undo a setup move, if that makes sense, in order to keep this solved. So I see this green bar and they can pair here, but again, that breaks this orange center. So what I can do is when I bring that down, I just simply move it to the side so that when I bring this back up to solve that, this remains untouched. And then again, we can do the same thing with this. So we set it up to get solved, move it down, out of the way, and back up. This is solved and this is untouched. And then, all right, so this is pretty easy. We have these two pieces and this one piece. This needs to go up here. So we just set it up to pair that up. Then we can bring it back. And then kind of similar to how we solved the last piece, but instead of we could bring it down like this and solve it, or we can also move this up and essentially do the same thing. So what this is doing is this is solving it while kicking this out so that when we realign this, it solves both at the same time. And what this does is, so this is an empty slot. There isn't a solved piece here, or this bar isn't solved here. So what we can do is we can move up that empty slot. Now those three pieces are here. Then we can rotate that to put, and now that slot's no longer empty because this solved bar is now taken the place of these unsolved pieces so that when we undo our first setup move, that solves this. So you can do that either way. They both effectively accomplish the same thing. Sometimes you might want to like look ahead and see if it changes how your next center will be. But in this case, we didn't do that. So next we're moving on to the last two centers, and what I see is well, all right, so I'm gonna actually do a little trick that I learned. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use that same concept that I just did. So this is the red center, as we can see by the red being in the middle here. And what we can do is we can use that same like empty slot concept. So again, there's no red here, so we can move this up, and then the red bar is here, so we'll move that over to this side and then bring it back down. Now that brings the bar here. And if we, so say this piece and this piece weren't here, right? We can imagine that this is like a red T. And a little trick that we can do that I learned that we can do to like solve the 2x3 is we can take this red edge piece here, move it down to replace this bar, and now when we move this to the side and bring that bar back up, now we have all of this solved. And now, all right, so this piece is a little case that a little special case that I learned. So we have these two pieces here and this piece here. So what we actually, no, I lied. That's not necessarily a special case, but what we can do is we can move this up, do a 180 rotation like that. What's it? Okay. I'm gonna have to try and remember how to do that. Okay, that is the case. So, okay, so we have these two pieces that are opposite of one another. Or not opposite, but they're not together, but they're in the specific pattern where this piece is at the bottom left corner, and this piece is in the center. And then this piece can be solved with one move, right? So what we can do is we can move this up, and obviously this piece needs to come back down. But instead of just doing something like this to bring it down and then something else, what we can actually do is we can bring this piece up, rotate the top by 180 degrees, then bring this down, and that solves this. And now we can just use that same concept as before of move up the empty slot, put this inside the empty slot so that it's now solved, and when we move it back, that solves that center. And then that's all 6 centers solved. So now next we want to do, we want to solve all the edges, and we don't use like the 3-2-3 method like for 4x4, at least I don't use the 3-2-3 method like for 4x4. Instead I do what's called free slice. So what that means is, I'll show you. So first I have these 2 green and white pieces as you can see, and I see the third one's here. So what I'll do is I'll put that into the slice layers, and I'll make sure that this is on top so that I can slice over the edge flip algorithm and slice back. Actually, that was a poor example because I think that's similar to what we did for 4x4 edge solving. I'll see if I can find a better edge. Alright, let's go ahead and do orange and yellow. So we have this piece here and this piece here. We can insert this into the center layer. And free slicing just means I slice over and then that's it. I'm not going to worry about realigning the centers, and the reason why is, so now we have this edge solved, right? And we move it out. We can solve these centers, but the thing is we don't have to because of how we're affecting the cube, we're only ever moving these layers in one axis, if that makes sense. So I'm only ever going to do moves that go like this, right? And because of that, it'll be extremely simple to solve them, because whenever we insert edges, we're not rotating it like this. So now as you can see, this bar is vertical while these are horizontal. Whenever doing a case that causes us to do that, we're always doing, so for example, say I want this edge in, right? What I do is I move this side up so that it's vertical. I insert that edge above it, and then I move the side back down. So now as you can see, this, I've swapped 2 pieces, but the edges have remained, or sorry, the centers have remained the same. So that's just a little trick that we use. And then, okay, so here comes another simple trick. So I see I have these green and orange here. The other green and orange is here. It needs to go here. So I could do the edge flip algorithm, which goes like that. But because I have the same color on the top and bottom, all I have to do is just do a double flick on this face. And as you can see, that doesn't change anything here. And now I can simply move this over to solve that edge. And then we can continue with the next edge. So the next one I see is this green and yellow here. And then I see the next green and yellow piece is here. So I'll actually rotate the cube over and put that edge in so that it doesn't affect our centers. And then again, we use the edge flick algorithm. So what I'll do is I'll move this over to pair them, right? And then the edge flip algorithm goes like this. So what I'm doing is I'm moving the piece, again, I'm doing what I showed you earlier to take this piece out and put a different piece in. But then what I'm doing is I'm putting the same piece back into that same spot, but I'm doing it in a different way. So like this. And it's the same thing. I'm just doing the same moves on a different face, if that makes sense. So now what that does is that actually flips this edge so that now I can solve that. And if okay, we keep getting the same cases for edges for some reason, so we'll go ahead and do that one more time just to show you what the edge flip algorithm looks like fast. So again, we match this up here, pair these two, and then that's the edge flip algorithm done a little quicker. And then we can slice back, and that gives us our solved edge. So then next I see these blue and yellow. I can slice over to pair those two. The last blue and yellow is here. So I'll insert that in and pair those two. And next I see these red and white, so I'm going to replace that with this. And then I see the other red white is here, so I can't slice over because that doesn't solve it. But what I can do is, again, we have matching colors, so I can just do a double flick here. That puts this where it needs to go, so then now when I move it over, it is solved. And then we have 2 more edges to do. So I see red and blue here, and then the other red and blue is here, so slice that over and that's solved. Excuse me. And there we go. So now we slice back, and as you can see, we have 4 edges on the top, 4 edges on the bottom that are solved, and our centers haven't been affected at all. So now, how I solve how I solve the last 4 is a lot of the edge flip algorithm. So I see this orange and white and this orange and white. I can move this over to pair those two. Then I do the edge flip algorithm and then slice back. Actually, in this case, I wouldn't slice back because I see that I need this orange to go here. So what I can do is I can do the edge flip algorithm to put this piece on top. So now when I slice back, that edge is solved. And then this is like the case that we had before where these two are unsolved. Oh, that was a oopsie. These two are unsolved and this piece can be solved with one move. So we solve that, do the edge flip algorithm, and then slice back. That preserves this and also solves this. And then here we are at the last two edges. It looks like we are gonna have parity. I mean, it's not really parity because we have this center edge to tell us that these two are solved, that these two are in the improper spots, but it functions the same as like a parity, if that makes sense. So again, we do that long algorithm like from 4x4. And what that essentially does is it swaps these two inner edge pieces and these corner pieces as well. But yeah, so there we go. That's the all the edges are solved. And now, again, like with the 4x4, we just solve it as is a 3x3. So again, because we didn't do any extra steps to solve the cross, we have to actually solve that now. So I'm actually gonna solve on yellow this time. So I have two cross pieces here, orange and green. I can solve those with one move like this, as you can see. There we go, that solves those two. But I also see this blue piece here. If I insert that like this, that will solve 3. And there's also this red piece here, which if you saw, when I do that to put in the blue piece, it sets it up here so that when I move that there, my cross is solved. And now when I do my flick, they're all in the proper spots. So next I'm going to do F2L. First I see the green and orange pair, so I'm going to do this case. I'm going to pair it and then put it in the proper slot, and then that's that solved. Again, I'm not going to go into in-depth with any 3x3 stage because I did do 3x3 as the first video of this series. So next I see these two pieces here. I'm going to pair them up that and then insert them into the slot like that. Then next we have this piece, or this pair I should say. There we are, they're paired and now they're in their slot. And then this one, there's a way to do this. Yep, there we go. There we go. And that's the first two layers solved. And again, because this is an odd layer puzzle, we don't have to worry about parity. So here we are, OLL. This is not a case that I recognize, so I have to do 2look to solve it. And 2look just means that yeah, sure. So 2look just means that it's a case that I don't know how to solve. So I have to do 2 algorithms to solve it. So because I don't recognize this case, I need to do 1 algorithm to get me across, which guarantees a case that I do know how to solve. And then there we go. Or at least that's OLL. And then we just have a simple U-perm for PLL, permutation of last layer. So there we go. That's the 5x5 all done. No explosions this time, thankfully. Yeah. But yeah, that'll be it for this episode of 25 Days of Cubing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and are enjoying the series so far. If you are, be sure to leave a like, comment, all that good stuff. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more high quality content like this in the future. That'll be it for me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.